Welcome to the Dr. Washbrains podcast. Today's episode is about possibly my favorite supplement of all time, creatine. Now, whether you are an athlete, a casual gym goer, or someone who's simply curious about optimizing muscle strength, brain health, and human longevity, creatine is a molecule worth your attention. Now, over the past few decades, creatine has risen from being a supplement synonymous with bodybuilding to a scientifically backed compound with applications far beyond muscle health. From its from its origins in 1832, when it was first discovered by the French chemist Michel Eugene Chevreul, to today's cutting-edge research, creatine continues to captivate scientists and health enthusiasts like me, possibly yourself, alike. In this episode, we'll explore what creatine is, how it works in the body, its evidence-based benefits, different supplementation strategies, and even address myths and misconceptions. We will also highlight the latest research into its potential to support brain health, combat diseases, and promote longevity. So, whether you're listening to boost your performance, or maybe sharpen your focus, or understand the science behind this, trust me, this episode is for you. This is the Dr. Washbrains podcast. My name is Dr. Akash Sehgal. Let's dive in. Now, creatine is a naturally occurring compound found in vertebrates, basically the animals who have a spine in them, a backbone, primarily in the muscles of vertebrates and to a lesser extent in the brain. It is synthesized in the liver, kidneys, and pancreas using three amino acids glycine, arginine, and methionine. Now, once created, creatine is transported through the bloodstream to tissues with high energy demands. Roughly 95% of the body's creatine is stored in skeletal muscles, like your biceps, your triceps, your quads, and with the remainder distributed across the brain, the heart, and other tissues. Creatine's primary role is to facilitate energy production. It achieves this through the phosphocreatine system, which we will delve into shortly. Importantly, creatine is not an unnatural substance. It is present in foods like red meat and fish. However, for individuals with higher energy demands, such as athletes or those pursuing cognitive health, dietary sources may be insufficient, making supplementation a viable and an important option. Now, to understand creatine's impact, we need to explore its role in energy metabolism. Now, at its core, creatine's function revolves around the rapid production of adenosine triphosphate, or commonly known as ATP, the body's primary energy currency. During high intensity activities like sprinting or weightlifting, the body's ATP stores deplete rapidly, often within seconds. Here, the phosphocreatine system comes into play. Phosphocreatine acts as a reserve of high energy phosphate groups. Now, when ATP is used for energy, it loses a phosphate group, becoming adenosine diphosphate. Creatine, in the form of phosphocreatine, donates its phosphate group to ADP, regenerating ATP and allowing energy production to continue. This process is especially critical during short bursts of intense activity. Like glycolysis or oxidative phosphorylation are too slow to meet immediate demands. Now, beyond its role in energy metabolism, creatine contributes to muscle cell voluminization by drawing water from cells, potentially triggering pathways involved in muscle repair and muscle growth. Interestingly, creatine is also active in the brain where it supports cognitive function by ensuring a steady supply of ATP, means that creatine supplies energy to the brain. Emerging research suggests that it may even have a neuroprotective effect, helping to combat conditions like Alzheimer's and depression. Now, the benefits of creatine supplementation are amongst the most well documented in the field of nutritional science. Let's break down these benefits into key areas. Now, numerous studies confirm that creatine enhances physical performance, particularly in high intensity, short duration activities. A meta analysis published in Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise in 2017 found that creatine supplementation increased maximal strength, power output, and sprint performance. These effects are attributed to its role in replenishing ATP stores, or in other words, energy in the human body, and improving recovery between sets or efforts. Now, creatine is not just for muscle. It is for your brain as well. A 2011 study published in Psychopharmacology found that creatine supplementation improved working memory and intelligence in individuals subjected to sleep deprivation. More recently, a 2020 study in Nutrients highlighted creatine's potential to support brain health in older adults, enhancing memory and executive function. Now, research into creatine's neuroprotective properties is gaining traction. A landmark study in the Lancet Neurology in 2003 showed that creatine supplementation slowed the progression of Huntington's chorea in preclinical models. Additionally, its antioxidant properties may help combat oxidative stress in neurodegenerative conditions like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease. Now, as we age, both muscle mass and cognitive function decline, a condition known as sarcopenia and cognitive aging, respectively. A 2019 study in aging, clinical, and experimental research found that creatine supplementation, combined with resistance training, significantly improved muscle strength and lean mass. Lean mass basically means pure, raw muscle. A very minor inclusion of carbohydrates and fats, maybe, but not much to amount it to be considerable. Now, the ability of creatine to enhance mitochondrial function and reduce inflammation further supports its potential as an anti aging intervention. Now, while creatine monohydrate is the most studied and widely used form, other variants like creatine hydrochloride, buffer creatine, and creatine nitrate have emerged. Let's let's focus on the science. Now, creatine monohydrate is the gold standard. Studies consistently show its effectiveness in increasing muscle stores of phosphocreatine. Now, creatine hydrochloride, marketed as being more soluble, this form requires lower doses. However, current evidence suggests it is not superior to monohydrate in terms of efficacy. Now, a finer version of monohydrate is microionized. Microionized, it may be easier to digest for some individuals. Now, there are four main things that need to be understood about creatine. The first being how to take it, then the timing, alternate sources, and its safety. Now, creatine needs to accumulate in your cells to start. Now, creatine basically needs to accumulate in your cells to start acting. So, there are two ways how you can have creatine. Either you have 3 to 5 milligrams of it daily for almost 25 days, or you can do it in increments. Day one is one scoop, day two is two scoops, and increasing like that till day five. And then you come down to one scoop a day, and then you continue that ways. Or you can directly have almost five scoops, almost 20 to 25 grams daily for 5 to 7 days, which will build up the creatine stores as fast as possible. After that, you can switch to one scoop a day. Now, every single individual will have a different way in which their body reacts to it, time wise. Your results will be same, but the result might differ by 3 to 4 days depending upon how much is your optimum creatine level. Now, my personal recommendation is going to be to load it up slowly. If there are any side effects, you will get to know about them and you can take care of them. Now, I just said that you can have 5 scoops of creatine. It does not mean that you actually have 5 scoops of creatine in a glass of water. You need to take them throughout the day. Please do not load up on creatine like adding all of it in one glass of water and then consuming it. Tuck. Now, there's a reason to it. You do not know what side effects can come up. The common side effects of loading can be dehydration, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, muscle cramps, and allergic reactions. Again, so this is why I would not recommend you to start loading with 5 scoops in one glass. Now, if you're starting, then you can take one scoop a day for 5 days. After that, you start loading with whichever method you feel better with. This helps you to understand how your body is reacting to it. Now, while creatine's effects are cumulative, taking it post exercise, as highlighted in a 2013 study published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition, may slightly enhance muscle uptake of it. Now, for alternate sources, we've got wild game animals like rabbit and quail, lean red meat, fish, poultry, milk. They are highly important sources of creatine. But for vegetarians, there are absolutely no major sources of creatine. That is why it is highly recommended for vegetarians to consume creatine on a daily basis, be it in the form of supplements or any other form in which they can. Now, Despite creatine's extensive research, myths persist. One common misconception is that creatine damages the kidneys. However, studies, including a 2003 review in Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise, have consistently shown no adverse effects on kidney function in healthy individuals. Similarly, concerns about dehydration are unfounded. In fact, creatine's cell volumizing effect may enhance hydration. It is also worth addressing creatine's impact on body weight. While it can cause an initial increase in water retention, this is a normal response and does not equate to fat gain. For athletes concerned about weight categories, understanding this distinction is crucial. Creatine supplements muscle growth, so that is how and why you end up gaining weight. Some sources suggest almost zero point 0.2 to zero point 0.3 grams of creatine per kilogram, while the loading stage after which it is just maintenance of the level. It is also recommended to have almost 1 extra liter of water while you are on creatine. Now, the future of creatine research is bright. Recent studies are exploring its potential in mental health, where a 2021 study in translational psychiatry suggested that creatine supplementation improved symptoms of major depressive disorder, particularly in women. It also has an impact on your metabolic health. Preliminary evidence indicates that creatine may enhance glucose metabolism and support individuals with type 2 diabetes. Now, research into mitochondrial health highlights creatine's role in reducing cellular damage and promoting healthy aging. A 2020 paper in Aging Cells suggested that creatine may support mitochondrial biogenesis, a critical factor in combating age related decline. Now, creatine is a powerhouse molecule with applications far beyond athletic performance. From boosting energy production to supporting brain health and combating aging, it is a supplement that has stood the test of time and scientific scrutiny. However, as with any intervention, it is essential to consult with a trainer, a healthcare professional before beginning supplementation, especially for individuals with pre existing conditions like chronic kidney diseases. Now, thank you for joining in on today's deep dive into creatine. Whether you're considering it for muscle health, cognitive enhancement, or maybe long term wellness, the science speaks volumes. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who could benefit from learning more about creatine. And do not forget to subscribe for more evidence based insights. This is the Dr. Washwain's podcast. My name is Dr. Akash Sehgal. Thank you for making health a dinner table conversation.